All rise. We will obey. The International Criminal Court is now in session. L'audience de la Cour pénale internationale est ouverte. Please be seated. Veuillez vous asseoir.
Thank you very much. Court officer, please call the case.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
The court officer, thank you, Mr. President. Situation in the Republic of Kenya in the case of the prosecutor versus William Samuel Ruto and Joshua Arap-Sang, ICC 0109-0111. We are in open session.
Thank you. Appearances.
Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honors. For the prosecution, Mr. Anton Steinberg, senior trial lawyer, Lucio Garcia, Lara Renton, Melissa Sims, trial lawyers, Yasmina Suljanovic, case manager, myself, Alice Zago, trial lawyer. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Your Honors. The same on our side. Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honors. For Mr. Sang, today we have Katwa Kigan, lead counsel, Caroline Busman, Lohona Lanham, case manager, and Logan Hambrick. I am Philemon Koech, and Mr. Sang is present.
Thank you very much.
And for Ruto remain constituted as we were yesterday.
Thank you very much, Mr. Don, and we note your appearance on the record. We will continue the examination in chief of the witness, Ms. Sago. We ended in the private session yesterday. Do you want to go back in or begin in open for today?
I would request to please be allowed to go back to private session. I have follow-up questions from yesterday's session. Thank you.
We will go back into the closed session, into the private session. Again, a witness, welcome back to the proceedings. We will remind you to be mindful of the need to observe the pauses between the questioning and the commencement of your answers. We'll go back into private session now.
All rise. We will obey. Please be seated.
Thank you very much. Ms. Zaga, we're continuing in private, is that it? For the next line of questions.
2 follow-up questions in private and then a section in public, a brief session in public, if possible. I see that my learned colleague on the other side is on his feet.
Yes, indeed, Mr. President. I just wanted to say for the record that we've been joined by Cynthia Bondi and Mariange Okwigize.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay. I see we have a full gallery, literally. Oh, almost full, for the need of witness protection. Sometimes we do go into private session to take certain parts of witnesses' testimonies. We will not be drawing the curtains, but you'll be seeing what's going on, but do not hear what's happening. So we will do that now. We don't know how long we'll be in there, and hopefully we can emerge some public parts of the witness's testimony. We hope so. We go now to the private session.
Nous sommes en audience publique, Monsieur le
The
Président.
courtroom officer, we are in open session, Your Honor.
Witness, in 2005, we understand that there was a referendum in Kenya.
That's correct.
Could you please tell us briefly what the referendum was about?
The referendum was about a constitutional review that the country was undergoing, wanted to change the main constitution and present other laws to the country. The referendum was then put to the public to vote for the constitution that had been developed at that time.
What type of issues did the referendum address?
Well, after the constitutional review, the question now was put to the public to vote either yes or no to the constitution that had been reviewed.
Can you recall examples of topics that would be concerned by this or affected by this referendum?
Why don't you, if you have anything in mind, just point the witness to it by questioning, so that we don't have him giving a lecture at large about issues in the constitutional referendum discussions or debate.
I'm guided, Mr. President. Witness, did the reform address in any way land-related issues?
Yes, it was part of the review.
Who were the promoters of this reform?
Well, during the constitutional reform, there were laws that were fronted, and it was, of course, issues of systems of government, devolution, issues of land management, and things like those. But for the real referendum question, it was either you vote for the for the constitution, or you reject it. Voting no would mean retaining the old constitution, and voting yes would mean now the new laws would come to effect.
Were there political parties or coalitions promoting the referendum?
Well, of course, the referendum is a political exercise, and leaders from across the divide decided to choose whichever side of the constitution they would support or reject.
Was there a political party or alliance that specifically promoted the referendum?
Just briefly, is that the ECK, the former ECK, Electoral Commission of Kenya, who were conducting the vote, had assigned different, you would say, indicators of those who were saying no and those who were saying yes. And they used some fruits to distinguish between the two questions in the referendum, where those who are rejecting the constitution would use a fruit orange, and those who are supporting would use banana. If my memory serves me right, is that mostly at that point, the government, or those who are on the government side, were fronting the constitution that was reviewed at that time, and those who were against it because of whatever, because of the laws that had been reviewed, which actually formed mostly the people on the opposition, they used support orange. And in fact, later the orange side was transformed into a movement. It was called the Orange Movement, to front for the rejection of the proposed constitution.
So the banana side were on the yes side, and the
Yes.
orange side were on the no side.
That's correct.
Sir, to your knowledge, in the Rift Valley, which ethnic group or groups predominantly supported the no side?
Well, to my understanding, mostly people from the Rift Valley predominantly rejected the proposed constitution, and so they were supporting the no side.
Would you be able to tell us, in particular, the ethnic groups that supported the no side?
You mean in the Rift Valley?
Yes, sir.
Aside from the Kalenjin?
Are we assuming from your answer that the Kalenjin were on the no side?
That's correct.
Then who else were on the no side in terms of ethnic groups from the Rift Valley?
Well, of course, Rift Valley is predominantly Kalenjin, but also there were the Turkana, the Maasai, the Samburu. And then mostly, aside from the Kalenjin, those were the other sub-tribes that are in Rift Valley were supporting, who were rejecting the constitution.
And always in the Rift Valley, which ethnic groups predominantly supported the yes side?
Well, mostly the Kikuyu.
And in the Rift Valley, who were the most prominent political figures of the no side?
That would include William Ruto, and I don't quite remember the rest of the leaders.
Mr. President, I'd like to request respectfully to be allowed to go to a private session again.
Private session.
All rise. Vive la paix. Please be seated. Pouvez vous asseoir.
Thank you very much. We're in open session, Ms. Zago. Do we go back into the private session or remain in open session?
Private session, please.
Private session then.
Mr. President, perhaps